Good morning, good morning. We are back with Judging by the Cover. Today we are covering Grid Force Mask of the Goddess, another indie game from from some smaller developers, and we are joined with FlamedEzra. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, it has been a week, and I just double checked this and looked at the trailer myself. I know it's kind of playing in the background there. My first impression here is that the art style like it looks kind of like Adventure Quest as far as how the graphics are moving. I don't know if anyone remembers the old Adventure Quest web browser game. But a mix between that and like Mega Man Battle Network with the way the fights are laid out on grids in what looks like a real-time action.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting to see that. But also, I don't play a lot of real-time tactical games, so.
right.
But I usually what I'm used to is it being more hexagonal based, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah, yeah. I think I've seen some that have like a more of a hex layout as opposed to like a straight up grid. Um,
Yeah.
the stat screens do look pretty interesting as far as powering up over the time. They got a nice little comic art style going in with what looks like the story beats. Yeah, that's one of the things that really sticks out. I know it looks like an expansion. Now, I know I compared it to Mega Man Battle Network, but with the way the grids vary based on terrain, I know I think it was well, it was turn-based, but South Park The Fractured But Whole did a similar kind of grid layout for their combat. But then the Mega Man Battle Network is where it just kind of ties into that real-time action setting, it sounds like.
I haven't played any of the games listed or the one I'm about to mention, but because I've seen the trailer for it and some gameplay reviews about it, it's a little different, but it is still technically grid-based. I was thinking, I wonder if it's similar to Paper Mario: The Origami King's battle system or combat system.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
played
technically
that one.
grid. It is technically grid based, but it's a circular grid, if that makes sense. So you use this like circular thing to like line up the enemies with moves that
Right.
like turn the thing around. It's a pretty different, but it's still, I guess, technically by terms a grid based combat system. It's just weird.
Right,
It's
because you're
interesting.
working out like in a in a laid out space for your where your attacks will have certain ranges and everything.
Yeah, like from what I've reviewed from that or seen in reviews from that one, it's like you turn the field to like line up enemies so it doesn't do like massive damage all at once. So I
Right.
wonder if like because this is a grid, if that's kind of the idea behind it as well, if you're like supposed to line up the enemies by some means, or if it's just like you're jumping from grid square to square to make moves.
Since it
Based
looks
on
yeah, since it looks real time, I'm guessing it's probably like that where you have to move around on the map, but then your enemies are also moving around. Like I know in this shot here,
yeah,
scrolling down to the information and everything, you do see the enemies moving around, and based on your attack's range, if I'm guessing like if you have certain attacks and abilities that pierce through enemies or hit areas, then you can hit multiple enemies at a time, or try and chain attacks to take out the front enemies to before you get to the back ones. But at the same time, there's also the enemies attacking you at the same time. So
yeah,
you also have
almost.
to dodge their attacks in action combat.
I was gonna say almost like because if it is real time, which it is, I wonder if the better comparison rather than Origami King would be almost Space Invaders, like sideways though, rather than
Right. It kind of like
it gives.
huh. I never considered Space Invaders to be along like that Mega Man Battle Network kind of motif, but that does make sense the way it's laid out with one side versus the other.
Yeah, and you gotta go like side to side to dodge attacks, but also deal damage to the other side.
Right.
Yeah, but in
I
this case, you're going up and down.
I had never actually made that connection. You heard it here first, folks. Uh, Space Mega Man Battle Network is based on Space Invaders, and apparently by extension, Grid Force. But yeah, grid-based tactical action RPG, dozens of unique characters. So you do get the multiple characters. You got multiple characters on the map at the same time, it looks like, full of humor and loss where every decision counts. So it looks like they are very story driven. And a lot of times these indie developers, they do put a lot of focus on the story of their games, which honestly
Yeah.
is one of the biggest draws of them, because they you get some cool gameplay, but then you get stories where you know that whoever was working on it is like that story that they wanted to put in the game, it really meant something to them because of how small the production team would be. It lets people focus on that and not get overrun by, overly corporate interests trying to just push the sale of something at and
Yeah.
then throw whatever kind of story out the window that they want.
Yeah, I was that's one of my favorite parts about indie games is it gives me a feel for one of my favorite aspects of older games that sometimes still you see nowadays, especially single player games, but I really love story driven stuff. Like the gameplay is great, quality of like graphics is whatever to an
Right.
extent. But like I like story, and I think that's surprisingly what's kept me around Fortnite for so long is it has a story, a continuous online changing story, and I like that. And I'm addicted to Fortnite, sure, but it's one of the few online player games that I enjoy that I haven't gotten sick of because there is story aspects to it and more reason for why things happen and the way that they do. And I know a lot of people give the game slack, but Super Paper Mario is one of my favorite story games, and I love that game so much. And growing up as a kid, it was like it had a big impact on me. It was a little cheesy, but it
Right.
was a little like Romeo and Juliet-esque story. But there was a lot of effort put behind it versus just let's pump something out. And I love that indie games get to do that because, as you know, most of them, like you said, have one developer or a small team putting a
Yeah.
lot of effort and love into what they're doing rather
And
than
I
just trying to
it
churn something out for the sake of money.
absolutely. And let's see. It looks like we do have they put a focus on the elemental systems to get an edge in combat, build a dream squad from dozens of recruitable characters, each with start. So they have multiple characters, multiple storylines, and elemental based attacks. I did see in the trailers that it looked like they had multiple columns that you could level up, and each one seemed to be like a different kind of element. So that probably changes and boosts your attack in certain situations. I know I compared it to like Adventure Quest. Now, not so much with the gameplay; it's more of the graphical style. Feels like it. Where anybody out there who remembers like the era of Flash games online, I know Adventure Quest was one of those ones where characters had like a 2D character model kind of thing, and you could change the avatar and they have them with like different armor and swords and stuff, but everything about the character was like they moved like this, where it looked like each body part was hinged on the other part, on the next part of the body.
Yeah.
Now, for a game like this, where you want some kind of a fluid motion, that's the reason that they structured the games like that with those flash games. Is it allowed the characters to move, but you could move each body part like semi-independently, but still in relation to the rest of the body, and still make it look like a full range of motion, as opposed to having like 500 character sprites to show animation. It let each body part act as like an independent object in a sense. It just kind of looks like that, where the action screen here does look like that kind of old Flash game layout.
Yeah, like the ragdoll based stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I think that's the term for it. Like, one of the harder versions of it that like took it to like an extreme because you had to move every part individually was QWOP. I don't know if you remember that Flash game.
I actually don't
The
remember that one.
it was a like you're using QWOP to remove each individual part of a track runner to try and get as far as you could without falling on your face.
Oh, okay. So like each one would move like an arm or a leg kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Each one was moving like Q and W. I think were like the legs, and like you would use the other ones to like swing. I don't know if it was swinging the arms or if it was like the different parts of the legs. I think it was more like thighs and calves or what you were moving. But it was interesting. It was like taking the ragdoll stuff to another level. I feel like because it was like so difficult to do.
Oh, that that also sounds kind of like and I know it's a very different style of gameplay, but like Happy Wheels and
Oh yeah, it is
like
similar
it
to
had
that. I feel like the
Get Over It.
graphics
Get
are
Over It
similar.
was the other one I was thinking of, where the characters like they have those few moving parts. That's the difficulty, is it's a physics game, but those few moving parts are just kind of hinged on the model itself. Okay, but yeah, moving on from all of that, we got guide Donna on her journey of self-actualization through a beautifully animated manga-style narrative. Yep, there we go. Definitely inspired by anime and manga of the
Yeah,
time. Who will Donna trust and who will she betray? It's up to you to write the end of her story. Now that right there, I could see that being like a plus or a minus depending on how much your decisions actually affect the story, like how much the story branches. Because so many times I do see things where it's like, oh, multiple endings or branching story, but then it's like the game has the same ending, or the two storylines are basically just reskinned versions of the same story. But then other times you do see a game where the story does take drastic turns depending on your decisions.
makes sense. I
Let's see.
haven't played too many of those, but I would hate for it to
Right.
like advertise it a game to advertise itself as different endings, but it's still very linear
Right.
towards
And now
one
it doesn't
major.
outright say different endings here, but it does say it's up to you to write the end of her story. So I'm wondering like how much the different moments and stuff branch off based on those decisions. Or at the very least, it because there's so many different characters, depending on who you recruit or how those characters interact with each other, I do see room for potential of like maybe making certain choices locks out certain characters kind of thing.
Yeah,
But it does say Grid Force tells a tale of inclusion, personal growth, and responsibility through an epic journey to the multicultural fictional world of Gora. And then we do have a shot here of the actual comic style, which the comic art is on point. Like if I saw this kind of thing on the bookshelf, I'd be like, oh, let me pick up this comic. That looks pretty neat. Let's see, make game changing decisions and build relationships. So each playable character has their own paths, traumas, aspirations. Yep, like I was thinking, the characters have their own stories and side things going on. They may help you, hinder you, surprise you, gain enough of their trust, and they join your team. Their presence in your squad can change the course of the story, opening previously unavailable paths and revealing deeply hidden secrets. Okay, so that right there does say that it tells me, hopefully that it actually pans out that way. It does tell me that they do want to emphasize a replayability kind of thing where you can go through and actually get different sequences, different storylines. Where if you get certain characters, it's like maybe I would at the very much guess, since we have like this future cyberpunk kind of setting going on here, like, oh, you find somebody who's a skilled hacker or locksmith so they can get you into an area to get a direction in the story you might not have gotten otherwise, at least as a potential. I don't know if that's actually something that happens, but it tells me that that's a possibility. And oh, straight up character art. Recruit and level up your units, unlock a variety of active and passive skills. The right squad is key to defeat the goddess of Gora, claim their masks. Oh, the goddesses. There's multiple goddesses. And ultimate power contained within. So I'm guessing these are those goddesses. And okay, this first one, I'm throwing this out there. The first one looks like Curly Brace from Cave Story. Did OBS kick up?
I think so.
Okay, there it is. But yeah, that first one, that straight up like the pale skin, the yellow hair, and everything. She's apparently a robot, or at the very least cyborg. She looks like an older, like more advanced Curly Brace from the game Cave Story.
I haven't played that yet.
That's yeah, that's an indie game from back in the day. Um, Interesting little thing, and yeah, that's the end of the line there. But yeah, the characters, they do show like they got this pale robot android cyborg, whoever she is. Um, and they got a mix of like what looks like Asian, African, Islander groups here. So definitely a diverse group of the what I'm guessing is the goddesses, where it comes off kind of now I know I compared it to Mega Man Battle Network earlier with the grid combat, but it feels kind of Mega Man esque where it's like, oh yeah, here's your bosses. Each one will have like their own unique ability, attack pattern, weaponry, and everything.
I love the fact that the one of the characters that really stands out to me is the one with like the blonde, not the other blonde hair one. She looks almost like a female Johnny Bravo wearing like a cyberpunk
Oh my
jacket.
gosh, I was so fixated on the curly brace, I missed the lady Johnny Bravo. I
Yeah,
see it. I can't
yeah.
unsee it now.
It's
Yeah, so a
great.
hammer, a staff, one with a giant fist. Um, Curly looks like she's riding on something, so I wonder if she has like some kind of giant giant mount that does a lot of the fighting.
Yeah, I can't really tell, but definitely something. It looks almost like the one I compared to Johnny Bravo. It looks almost like she's got like a turbine hammer thing, like a rocket hammer or something. I don't know what's going on there.
Right, like that
What's
kind that
behind her
has
head?
the kick fuel or something.
Maybe, I don't know, but whatever she has behind her head that she's clearly holding with the hand that's off
Right.
the segment looks like a turbine to me or something.
And the images they do seem to like they give a little they show a little bit of personality and characterization, but they don't give away so much in the image that it's like, oh, I know exactly how that character is going to fight. Especially since
Yeah.
the grid and everything has this whole like there's a lot of digital looking stuff going on with the grid. So that's something that does interest me. Like I may keep an eye out for this one to see if it goes on sale. It shows it's 15.99, it's a pretty good price for indie games like this. Um but now I did grow up being a longtime fan of the Battle Network games. So based on that alone, like the combat does seem like something that I would get into.
Well, this is good. For someone who doesn't play grid game stuff, it does feel like straightforward and welcoming to a player newer to that genre. And
Right.
like I said, it's not a bad price point. Like I honestly might consider getting this myself because I don't play a lot of Steam games yet. I have a decent PC. I just don't play a lot on my PC
Right.
because I'm an Xbox and Switch boyo. But I feel like this would be something that would be a good intro to getting me to starting to expand my horizons outside just like Fortnite, Rocket League, Sims, Minecraft, stuff like that. My big ones, Animal Crossing, stuff like that. I feel like this would be something that'd be a nice change of pace that I should definitely do, whether it's on sale or not. But I have just spent a good chunk because Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out, and I pre-ordered the big boy premium. So
Oh, so yeah, you all are getting in on that one.
we're going all out on it, yeah.
Oh yeah, we should be looking
So I'm
forward to
looking
that one
forward.
next weekend.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. Not nearly as much as my brother. He is the diehard Monster Hunter fan, but I
Oh
like the
yeah,
fact that it's cross-platform. So you know, I
fair.
get the and the customization aspects of it are kind of cool too. So I can play Animal Crossing in a world of monsters, and I love it. That's what I'm gonna compare it to. It's nowhere near like Animal Crossing, but it's nice that I have a little bit of customization in the game. I can customize my tent and my little campgrounds, my little kitty, and my character.
Yep.
I don't know if the kitty's character name is like copyright. So I'm not gonna say anything other than kitty, but for those Monster Hunter fans, they'll probably correct me in the comments.
Oh, fair. Yeah, we'll be looking at that one next week when that one's coming out. Now, I'm not going to be playing it, so when we do a judging by the cover review for that one, I'm going to be going in blind and making my judgments based on having no experience with the game. And then
Yeah.
this guy is going to chew me out for how wrong I
I,
am
I
probably.
I I feel like it's gonna be a really good episode. I feel like that's gonna be like honestly with Killing it could go into like a full on review of like hour-long session, which I would
Oh
that
yeah.
should be like the deluxe episode. Like this is
Oh
we're
yeah.
going all out with like you're going in blind, but the other two are going in knowing at least a day's worth of gameplay. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. I'm looking forward to that.
But then, so
So everyone else who watches has something to look forward to too.
yep. Now looking at this one, I was just looking at the stat screen here where it looks like so health, ether, luck, defense, power, and speed. Those are well, aside from ether is not exactly a self-explanatory stat as far as what you typically see in games, but I'm sure that the game explains itself enough. Um, although that's probably a mana thing, like because it's right next to
I was
health,
gonna
so it's
say
probably a
it
health
sounds like a
mana.
magic related.
Yeah, so probably like your energy and how many attacks you can use. But then it looks like each of these bars is also linked to elements. So I'm wondering if raising your stats is done by like raising your elemental affinities, which would probably also affect like if you're using elemental based skills, like if you're using water skills and you level up your water, you also have your defense stat going up. I don't know if that's actually how it plays out, but based on how this looks, it looks like they're trying to have that kind of connection because I've seen that in games before where characters will have like an elemental affinity, and when you pump into that affinity, it boosts certain stats tied to that affinity. Um,
I
back
just
on
want to
Game
point
Boy
out real quick.
Color. Oh yeah,
I was just point out while we're on the stats real quick and related to color. It does seem that the stats on the left are color coordinated with the stats on the right.
right,
I don't know if that makes
exactly.
any significance, but
Like the health ether, because it shows it has the same labels down here at the bottom, and then the top is it has the elemental lines.
oh, I didn't even see the ones on the bottom right. Yeah, okay, so it's pretty
Right.
obvious. Never mind.
Although
I'm sorry,
the
you're gonna talk about Game
bars
of Color though.
the bars don't exactly measure up to the numbers, it seems. So I wonder if those like I would wonder like if where those numbers come from completely, like if there's other stuff. But yeah, I was thinking like there's a Game Boy Color game from way back in the day called Lufia the Legend Returns. Characters had that kind of stat based thing where you would have one of four colors assigned to each character, and each color, like when you leveled up their color, it raised like red raised attack, yellow raised speed and speed and magic, I think, green raised hit points, and then characters who were like adjacent to each other would share their color with the other characters around them.
Yeah,
So that way uh you could have it like on their layout, if you had a red character in the middle, you could have two green characters on either side of them, and those green characters will lend their green stat to support the hit points and boost the hit points of the middle as you raise that skill. I would wonder if that's how this plays out something, or if there's any kind of inter-character linking of elemental affinities.
I think it's more like inner character linking because if you go back real quick, I want to make note that it says squad at the top, and as we know, there's multiple characters. But
Right.
under the squad, I wonder if the stats that we're seeing on the left is more your overall team stats, or if that's what's on the right here. Because if you look carefully
Oh,
above below, it says
oh
Donna
yeah.
says light
Donna's
champion, so she
speed
must special
Donna's speed is way higher than this bar
the
shows
actual
over
overall
here.
thing. Yeah, and I also want to point out that her title is light champion, so I wonder if she specializes in light and speed
Okay,
because it
yes.
has a little orange thing. So yeah, I was just pointing out that there's that stuff around the character on the left. So I wonder if there's like individual stats and overall like what it puts towards the whole squad stats, which is
Right.
why there's the health, ether, luck, defense, power, speed versus all these elemental stuff here. And then also the fact that there's a Q and E button, meaning you can probably swap between the squad members you have,
Right. Yeah, that's usually
each
that
one
kind of
specializing in something else.
right. So Donna's a speed character. So then this is probably, so I also see like they have Sunblade, Silver Bullet, and Goddess Wrath.
Yeah, Raph. Yeah, I don't know what that
Wrath.
means, but it's a
Uh,
buff.
I would think Wrath like TH, but it says Wrath. I'm gonna guess that that's
It's probably its own in-game thing.
yeah.
Uh,
I would guess
maybe.
not a typo because this game's been out for a couple of years. Somebody would have picked that up and
Yeah.
maybe gotten a patch
Yeah.
on there. But like I
Yeah,
guess
and
when you
also it
get
has
certain
I was gonna say the icon for Goddess Wrath also has little meteors, so it's probably either a typo or something in-game related that
yeah,
there's
so
a
looks
reason
like an
spelled like
AOE
that.
kind of skill. So like we have a
Yeah.
sun. What I'm guessing is a short range slash, long range shot, and then a long range AOE. But yeah, the comic art does look gorgeous here. The character art and everything is laid out really nice. And okay, am I the only one seeing a guy with a fish face?
What? Oh,
Oh no, on screenshot
wait.
5, dude has a fish and he's shooting a fish out of his staff.
That is glorious.
So
Yeah,
on
he is a
top
fish
of everything
face.
else and what looks like a serious story, it looks like they do have some silliness going on because a man this is screaming what's the name of the character from Demon Slayer with the boar head?
Oh, Inosuke.
Yeah, like he's giving me Inosuke vibes. Like what is this with the fish? It's just a fish instead of a pig.
Yeah, my first instinct was fish stick from Fortnite, which is just
Oh my
glorious.
gosh.
And also,
Uh
it's even further. It reminds me of Atlantean fish stick, which is like the Aquaman fish stick joke
okay,
that
so
they had.
do you like fish
You'd have to look
sticks?
it up later, and you'd probably be able to see it. Atlantean fish
Uh
stick from Fortnite,
oh my
because
gosh.
he's not blue like this fish, but he's got like the Atlantean gold. So I
Right.
wonder if that's the crown. That's where my brain connection went. But yeah, Inosuke I could also see because that's glorious.
Yep.
Inosuke, if you were a fish mage,
Very yep. Now, it's one other thing that really hits me here, the way the grid is laid out. So, I know I keep making the comparison to Mega Man Battle Network because the combat looks very much like that, as at least as far as the grid and positioning is concerned. Um, so I'm guessing that the grid is pretty much the same. The blue grid is the space that you're able to move on, while the red grid is the enemy space to move on. You're probably not able to cross over the grid, or if you can,
yeah,
maybe there's some kind of a penalty if you're on the enemy side of the grid. But then, so on the sixth screenshot here, we do see the terrain affects that, where you have this chasm opening up in between the areas, which probably bars you from using like close range attacks if your grids don't like come face to face with each other. So then you have to go range attacks to get across this chasm, across these spaces. Um,
yeah.
Battle Network had it laid out where it was a 3x6 grid, and each side, the player side and the enemy side, had a 3x3 area to move in. There were some abilities that could cause you to gain or lose ground, to basically have one side encroach on the other to get closer to the other side or to
Yeah.
back them against the wall. But then this one
There's
seems
also
to just on the just from the front will go and give you different terrain environments so that you're not always playing on the same grid, which is interesting.
But then you also have screenshot 7 that doesn't have any color coordinated grid.
Oh yeah.
It's all just kind of like mayhem on one field.
I
So
wonder if that's like if there is like some grids or some situations that are just absolute free for alls or something.
yeah, or if it is terrain based, like it's just split because of certain terrain related issues, like
Right.
with the chasm and stuff.
Or
Um,
maybe certain settings that turn off the color coordination or some hard mode or something that where it's like you don't get as much of an indicator for what's on the field.
or even objective based. It could be like, some you're supposed to just do range, some you're supposed to like Othello it and like gain ground over the grid
Right.
or something.
I
Could be
know
objective based.
so a lot of games have done that kind of thing where it's not always it's not always annihilate the enemy or steal all the ground. Sometimes it's survive for X amount of time or something like that.
Yeah, like different mission based levels. Spice things up, I guess. I don't know.
Yep. And then oh wow, this one. So some of these attacks, I have to wonder how big some of these attacks get, and they definitely play out a lot faster than I keep making the Mega Man comparison, but the attacks do seem to play out a lot faster and bigger. Like there's more spectacle to the attacks
Yeah.
because I see this field is loaded with enemies. I see on the screen based on the location of the numbers and stuff. There has to be like a full 5 by 4 grid where there seems to be an enemy on each tile.
Yeah,
And
it's a little interesting.
the character there appears to be I think she's one of the goddesses shown at the bottom of the store page.
Yeah, the
But
bottom right
she was
one.
the one at the far right, so I'm guessing that she would be like the final boss is what the positioning looks like. She definitely has that kind of like final boss atmosphere to her. So I'm wondering if this might be some scripted thing just to showcase, yeah, no, this is what you're up against. At least that's kind of what the image is telling me. Unless she's actually a recruitable character like Magus and Chrono Trigger, where it's like, yeah, you think she's an enemy, but guess what? She joins the party kind of thing. Which, if that's the case, holy balls, that would be a twist if she is one of those final bosses, but still, joins the group.
Yeah, she looks like an AoE damager.
Yeah.
Does a lot of damage to a lot of at once. It might be an end game recruitable character too, like
Right.
more someone like when you get into the harder levels or more towards the end of this playthrough, it's like someone you can recruit.
Which, if she is a Magus, like a Chrono Trigger Magus situation, that I am all for that if that ends up being the case. Um,
Yeah.
we do see. Okay, hold up. Now I'm suddenly wondering. I just pulled up the next screenshot. Now we see Donna, but then we see three of those characters from the bottom of the store page that made it look like they were the bosses because they were right under the text box that said like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of goddesses. So do you eventually like team up with all of them? Because I see the curly brace, the other woman, and the geisha just all together here,
I
along
don't
with
know.
the dialogue choices that probably change what direction the story's going to go.
Yeah.
And okay, now I also have to wonder. So the 10th screenshot to the 11th, it looks like the same character but with different clothes. So I wonder if there's like different outfits that also affect your stats or your affinity.
Oh yeah. Armor maybe. I don't know.
Right,
Different
different
buffs.
armors, different kinds of situations going on there. So that'll be cool to see. Um there's a lot of other stuff going on here. Like this, I don't know if this is a story moment of something going on with or if this is actually just an extra large character on the grid. Can't really tell here. Um, Interesting layout on the structure here. Kind of hard to tell what's going on, but it like the art direction is absolutely gorgeous. The way they got like the rune rocks and everything laid out all over the character.
Yeah. Some comic strip stuff.
Yeah, just kind of interspersed throughout the thing. I do like the comic aesthetic that they go with some of the story moments. Although for the sake
Yeah.
of gameplay, like I wonder if they would at least let you make sure you can skip those things for repeat playthroughs.
Or
Here we
just like
have,
in a gallery tab or something.
yeah, we got three Donnas going on here.
Oh yeah.
So there's some kind of a duplication ability, it seems. And only one of them appears to have what I'm guessing is the ether bar for the mana. So then the other ones are probably like some kind of a shadow clone thing. I've seen that sort of thing in games before where you can split your character, but then the other ones just have like an auto attack kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I almost said Shadow Clone, and you said it too. We're on the
Yeah.
same page.
Whatever Naruto says. I, I'm I know I'm terrible. And ooh, so we got some kind of three-eyed yeti in the enemy. So they got diverse enemy models. Like they're not all humanoids or robots. They got some interesting folklorish looking creatures going on here.
Yeah. It also doesn't look like a bunch of repetitive grunt players either. Like there's probably some grunts, but like grunt
Right.
enemies, it's not like too repetitive where you just got a bunch of like, oh, these are knock 'em down people or
Right.
whatever.
And
Knock 'em down enemies.
even the cannon fodder types of enemies are probably diverse enough to make it where it's like each one is engaging. Like you have to approach each one a little different. Like I imagine this one probably has that with the spike face, it probably has something where it looks like it would have a, oh yeah, if you use melee attacks against these, you leave yourself open to backlash or something. Although radical on the hoverboarding character, that just looks cool right there. The game
I think
definitely
it's like,
goes hard on style.
yeah, it's got some major style points. I was gonna say the spiked character looks like a bear or something, moss bear of some sort.
Yeah.
I think we saw it earlier in a screenshot too, but I didn't really point it out.
Yep. Oh, and then here we have Donna fighting against the geisha. So you do end up
It
fighting
probably is a
those.
boss thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a boss. I wonder if all the bosses are recruitable based on your decisions and everything. Which
Yeah, she's got
if
like a little Angie boss icon as well below her on the bottom right, right where your mouse is.
oh yeah. Oh, I wonder if that's a boss icon or if that's like some kind of other thing. I'm sure the game will explain it. But that is so that's all the screenshots there. They do have a lot of really cool stuff. The style is off the charts. I could see the like the Flash game style of character animation might be a little off-putting. It might be a little aged by this point, but it does allow the characters to have like at least a fluid movement so that as they're moving, they they're able to really focus on fluid gameplay as opposed to being
Yeah.
like overly, yeah, I know I made that Adventure Quest comparison. That first few seconds of the trailer, like that kind of animation is exactly the kind of thing that Adventure Quest looked like.
I definitely feel like it's a little more fluid than like OG RPG sprites, where it's just like
Right.
different frames of
Because if
movement.
it was
It feels
sprites, like
much
if you,
fluid.
I know like if you compare to like Final Fantasies or again Mega Man Battle Network, in those ones like the character would just like hop and flash from square to square, whereas this one looks like it has some motion to it as far as their character tweening.
Yeah.
So I do like the fluidity. I like the pace it looks that it shows. The abilities look like the trailer does show actual raising of skills, so you know that you over time you're going to unlock extra abilities with that, raise your stats. However that relates to the character directly, or if that's your squad as a whole, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm probably going to wait to see if this goes on sale before I decide to snap it up, because $15.99 definitely a fair price for an indie game that looks like it delivers this much. I would just hope that it does offer some replayability. Like I'm hoping that the branching storylines and the recruitable characters give you a lot of replay factor. But at the same time,
Yeah.
like if it does have that kind of replayability, I would wonder how long the a single playthrough of the game would take. Um, Depending on how all that goes. It looks like I'm from the bottom of the screen, it looked like there were 6 quote unquote bosses or at least recruitable bosses. There's probably, I know the trailer had some other stuff going on there with some giant super boss character is what it looked like.
Oh yeah, the one with the rune rocks or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it goes on sale, I'm gonna be snapping this up. I think I'd rate this a solid 9 on indie games. Um, the style is there. The gameplay looks quick and snappy. And I know it says here on Steam that it has mixed reviews, but just based on the store page, like not going into the reviews, not going into any of that, it looks like Dreamnaught Studios put a lot of effort into this. Like you can see that they wanted to present their project here and everything it had to offer. So I do have some confidence in the store page here. So if it goes on sale, I'd say with a 9, I would pick this up on sale. Even if it's not a big sale, like just kind of like a, oh, look at that, 10% off because my deal hunting addled brain would just snap that up.
Yeah. I haven't played a ton of RPGs, so but based solely on this and the art style, I would give it a 8 to 9. It's probably like 8. for me, because I haven't played this style of game. I don't know if it's my
Right. You do
speed.
you do a lot more like action-based games where it's more like more of a run and gun as opposed to managing. Now this is action, like real-time action, but there is still a degree of stat management going on, and that can always come
Yeah.
with the question of how much do I have to grind to have the stats the game expects me to have, which I can see that being a concern because any game with stats has that. Even it has that kind of possibility. Now, in modern games, a lot of times developers do are better at pacing the level up experience so that you don't have to necessarily grind. Like you can grind to over level for challenges, but if the game is paced well, you don't necessarily have to. You should be able to beat it at if you just kind of go at the normal pace.
I think for me also, it's like the same reason why I needed to try Skyrim and didn't grow up with it. It's because I don't understand how like I haven't really played too many of the strategy RPG games to understand like builds and like
Right,
when you're putting your own skills into your own choices, how it can form a build of a character. I need to understand my own play style first. And so like, am
right.
I running a gun? Am I a tank? Am I a ranger? And why can't I just make everything balance and do whatever I feel like is best for the moment? And that's not how those games work. I can't just I kind of have to pour the stats in properly, and I don't understand how that works yet. That's why I feel
Right.
like this is a game that'd be a good stepping stone towards getting there, though.
Right. I know a lot of times,
So
like balanced characters like that, balanced characters can be good depending on what the game expects of you. But sometimes, if you try to put points in everything, certain games are set up where, okay, well, you can do a little bit of everything, but you're going to suffer late game because you don't have any of the top tier skills that you get from the end of one skill tree kind of thing.
yeah. So yeah. Well,
So I think that's what we got here. The stat screen now. I know last week we looked at a stat screen that was like, kind of like, not too enthusiastic about how the stats were confusing and how it looked like it translated to gameplay. This one looks a lot clearer. Like whatever you increase, you're probably going to be doing more damage with skills of that affinity, and raising the appropriate health, ether, luck, defense, power, speed, like whatever stats are most appropriate for your build or whatever you're going with.
yeah.
So that's yeah, I'm gonna be keeping an eye to see if it goes on sale. In fact, you know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm gonna go ahead. There's you know what? There's even a demo. So if anybody out there is interested, um, check out the demo. That might actually be worthwhile. I may check that out later on this week. But I'm gonna go ahead and wish list this, and if it goes on sale, I'm gonna keep my eye on it because it looks like a lot of fun, something to definitely support the developers on that and see how they go. I might actually look at the reviews later in my own time. I just didn't want to be like influenced or be putting like, okay, what are people saying? Is that going to affect my perception here? Because I want to go just on what the store page has to offer.
Yeah. I feel like reviews can definitely influence stuff. So
Yeah. And with that, I think that's what I got here. Yeah, I'm saying a 9 with a wish list to watch for a sale for me. Um and then next week we're going to be looking at the new Monster Hunter game.
yeah, I say an 8, and I will look into the demo.
Yep, yep. All right. Well, everybody out there, thanks for joining us. It has been a delight. Do look forward to us.
Yes, thank you.
Remember, check us out on Twitch too, and we'll be I should be around this week for that as well.